This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Bruno, Tybalt, or Luigi. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighbourhood film snob. It's been a few weeks, but we're back. The pod squad is together. And when the pod squad is here, you know we have to introduce them one by one. We've got Maddie. Welcome back, Maddie. How are you?
Hi, James. Thanks for having me back on. Long time no see.
Having you back. You're literally like a staple of the show. I wouldn't do the thing that I'm doing.
I'm doing all right. I've had a hectic week.
Had a couple of days.
Yeah, we've all had a bit of a funny little, I think once the weather turned cold, it's all been a bit interesting. But no, I've been all right, pottering around. I think since the last time we spoke, I've maybe watched a few films. I've definitely watched a few reruns of a few things. I haven't watched anything new, but I've watched a couple of reruns of some old goodies that just soothed me in the winter months, I suppose. Well, not even winter months, just the colder months. So, yeah.
Very good. And we also have to have, of course, Sir Nicholas Owen. Welcome back, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, James. Hi, Maddie. Very good to be joining you both. And yes, the weather has just been mental. So cold.
It's for our international listeners, it is winter or just about winter now here in Australia.
No, it's not even. That's the thing.
Even though we're used to it in Melbourne because we have every season in a day all the time, it sucks. I prefer winter to summer, but like we're getting too much of that chill right now. And I've been outside for the last 4 days because I've been helping my dad move house as well. So I'm just like done.
Yeah, but there's something about Melbourne's cold that just hits different. Like it could be like 4 or 5 degrees in the morning here, and it feels way colder than 4 or 5 degrees somewhere else.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's like we've got this like damp cold or something like that, but it just felt particularly brutal.
Yeah,
it's probably because we're surrounded by like water and stone and pavement, and it's not like any of it really lends itself to holding warmth. So yeah, I think being near the water definitely is probably our biggest chill factor in the inner city, that's for sure. And it was -1 this morning out near me because I'm in sort of a valley area. It was -1.
You had some ice on the windscreen.
Yeah, we're just sitting in the car, just sitting and listening to some Bluey in the car. The windscreen wipers are going.
I was about to complain about the 2-degree walk I had to do to take my dad milk this morning, but you went with -1.
It was -1, and poor David, my husband, rode his bike to the train station.
Oh, that is a big effort. James, how are you? How are you? Fresh off your rubbing shoulders with Hollywood A-listers?
I'm doing okay. It's been a complicated week, I guess. We don't need to unpack all of my mental well-being in the first 5 minutes of the podcast. That was wonderful. That was a lot of fun. I'll talk about that in a second. I've been moving my dad, as I mentioned, but I'm just dealing with like a lot, at the moment. And I think it's a lot. I can't even put it into words. I've talked about my mental health on the podcast before. It's not a secret, but it's been a rough week or so. But we'll focus on the positive. The interview with Jillian was wonderful. Really fun. Everyone's been so kind. I've had a lot of people reach out. A lot of friends of the show, but also people I've never spoken to before who are just like, hey, I don't know how you did it, but like, well done. Well done on landing a guest who's in mainstream films and working in the industry. And we've known her and she's made us laugh for over 15 years. Like, that's kind of cool. So,
So take us behind the scenes, James. So obviously there's a time difference. So you would have done it, in the morning here, which would have been late afternoon, evening over in the States?
9:30. Yeah, let's. I know people really want to know about the date, the time date line or whatever it is. It was 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning for me, 4:30 p.m. in balmy California afternoon on a Friday for her.
That's pretty good. And then when you're having, someone of that stature, do they just pop on to the Zoom call, or have a little assistant who logs them on, or how does that work?
It was just her. It was it was just her. I remember I was sitting there just whenever I do an interview with someone new and I haven't really had much interaction with them before, I always get nervous, which I don't mind. I think, there's nothing wrong with a healthy dose of nerves. I think it keeps you sharp and keeps you on. But I remember that whole morning I didn't eat anything. I was just like, I'm not going to do it. I was just pacing around the lounge room because I didn't sleep very well. I think I got about 4 hours sleep. And then I was woken up early by my daughter because, I don't know, she wanted to watch Kim Possible or something. That's the new thing in our house. She loves Kim Possible, which I'm all on board for. And yeah, with 5 minutes to go, I was like, all right, just screw it. I'm just going to sit here and just wait. And 9 o'clock came and went. And I was like, I also didn't believe it was going to happen. And this is not me saying oh, Jillian Bell lied to me. Certainly not. I was more just does she run her own Instagram account? I've never met her before. Who am I to someone who's been in movies for the last 15 years? It could very easily be oh yeah, and I was honestly, I was just waiting for the call to say, hey, sorry, it's not happening today. Now that's kind of where I was, and that is no reflection on her as a person or as someone in the media. That's a reflection on my own insecurities. I was well, surely this isn't going to really happen. I'll just wait, and then 10 minutes will go by, and then someone's oh, we've got to say it's not happening. But 9:01. Camera's on and it's her, and she's there, and she's in her lounge room, or I didn't ask. I'm well, what's the floor plan of this place?
That's the first thing you always ask a new guest. You say, where are you exactly in your house?
Pinpoint your exact location.
Did you have a little bit of because before we start recording, we always have a bit of chitter chatter and catching up and stuff. Did you have a little bit of a sort of chat before you started recording?
Yeah, a little bit. I asked her how her Friday was going. I was like, hey, thank you so much for doing this. How are you? How's your Friday? She was telling me about a dip she made. It was it was a tofu and eggplant dip, if I remember correctly. Told me about that, and she said she had a pretty quiet day, and she had a couple of meetings later on in the evening. But the only real thing she had to attend to was the podcast. So yeah, we just had a bit of a chit chat, and then. I don't think I ever did it with you guys because we've been. I might have done it with you on your very first episode, Maddie. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't have done it with Nick. But whenever I have a new guest, I always go over ground rules where I'm hey, is there anything you don't want me to talk about? This is a real peek behind the curtain for people who I'm sure are not interested at all. But especially if it's someone I've met before, hey, this is the kind of show I like to do. It's quite conversational. I have a few little bits that I want to hit, but otherwise. We can there's no structure to it. You just talk about whatever you want to talk. Are there any things you don't want me to ask? Are there any sensitive areas that, we shouldn't dive into? Are there any things about the movie you don't want to talk about? And she was like, oh, look, just don't spoil the ending. And I was like, I probably won't even talk about the ending, to be honest, because the movie's just gone out. So I said to her, we might not even talk about the movie's plot too much. It'll be more I just have questions that I want answered, basically. And then we hit record. And then the podcast didn't really go anywhere according to my plan because the first question I asked, she kind of jumped 5 steps, and it was great. It was great. I'm awesome. I don't need to worry about the structure. She's so conversational. Obviously, she's been doing it for years. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't I was oh, I'm not dealing with a pro. She could tell a story and weave it. And normally, as you guys would know, because you have done it, I'm normally so how'd you get into have you always been a movie fan and stuff like that? There was none of that. I'd planned to do that. But the way she answered the first question, it made no sense to go backwards, which I guess I think I've talked about on the podcast before. I didn't tell Jillian this because I didn't want to reflect poorly on me. But I don't prepare anything for my interviews. Look, I don't. And that might sound crazy, and people might be oh, my God, why would you do that? But the minute I write things down, I sound like I'm reading. And it impacts the tone of the interview. It doesn't sound as smooth and as kind of conversational. It sounds too fake.
So it's a question and answer.
Yeah. So what I normally do instead with interviews is once I kind of get into the week leading up to the interview, for the first couple of days, I'll just think about what my introduction is going to be. welcome to Us a Teenage Film Snob. Today I've got a wonderful guest. They've been in such things as this, this, and this. They do this. I've seen them in this. You're going to love them. This. If you haven't guessed who it is already, it's this person. Welcome. Like, I'll kind of do that. I just think about different variations of it. It's not scripted or rehearsed. I just kind of think about different ways, different things I want to mention. I will say with Jillian, the one thing I did do was I did write down a couple of titles on a piece of paper for my intro because I knew them off by heart all week. And Saturday morning, I couldn't remember a single thing. I was like, no, I forgot that. I need to just have a couple. And that's the only thing I wrote down. And then, like, in the last few days leading up to it, I'll just think about the main questions I want to ask. So, for example, with Jillian, I knew I wanted to ask about the casting. I knew that she'd been in the industry for so long. So I wanted to ask, and I do ask the question in the interview, for this film, was it a case of you've been in the industry for so long, you could just call up some friends and they showed up, or did you have to go through the same casting process? So that was something I really wanted to ask. I wanted to ask about the transition from acting to directing and if directing was always the long game for her, and I did ask that. I almost didn't because we skipped over it, but I managed to bring it in at the end. It was a nice way to kind of tie the episode up. But yeah, so I don't go in with notes because I feel like it actually hinders me. And I've told a couple of people in the past, like I think when I interviewed J.R. Stokes, who directed Edge X, I told him afterwards, I'm like, hey, I didn't want to say this before the show, but I don't write questions down. I just make it up as I go. And he was like, wow, like that's really cool. Like, but yeah, it was great. And I asked her if there's a time frame because the way that it happened was she said yes. And then I was like, I can send you my calendar. And she's like, don't worry about that. That's just going to confuse me. Let's just work it out manually, which I would never normally do. I hate doing that. But I was like, for you, Jillian Bell, I will do whatever you like. And the time she suggested was the day that I was helping with the move. And that was fine. But I knew Tina had a commitment at 11 o'clock. So I had to finish at 10:30 on the dot. So I was like, right, I'm only going to get an hour. That's fine. That's more than I ever expected to get with anyone from, Saturday Night Live or 22 Jump Street or anything like that. I'll take it. And then when we did the pre-interview chat, she asked if we could cut it to 45 minutes. And I was like, done and done. So you'll notice, like, when you listen to it, it's probably the tightest interview I've ever done. It's probably, even though it's not structured and everything is made up and impromptu, it will feel a lot more concentrated, I suppose, than some other ones, which can be a lot more free-form. Like, oh, we got time. Like when I spoke to Harry Waldman a couple of weeks ago and we talked about his film, we went for almost 2 hours because he was just like, let me tell you a 40-minute story. I was like, please do. Yeah. So it was wonderful. And we didn't have too much wrap-up chatter because she had to get off to do things and I had to go off and do things as well. But she was very complimentary about the interview afterwards. The one thing I did confess to was I did say to us, like, look, probably shouldn't say this, but you're actually the first person in the industry who's actively working in the studio system that I've ever spoken to. I've actually never kind of done this at this scale before. And that kind of was a bit of a surprise to her. Like, she kind of let me know she was surprised. I was like, oh, that's nice. Because she was here a couple of times at the start and at the end of the episode. I do thank her quite a bit. I said, look, you don't realize that this is a huge kindness you're doing. I don't think you understand, like, how generous you're being. Like, and then I explained to her what I meant by that afterwards. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, no, like that was really fun. And then she messaged me later as well to let me know that she'd had fun. And we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit in the last week, but I've also been spamming her Instagram handle with reels. So we're almost done. By the time the episode comes out, all the reels will have been released, and then she, won't have to hear from me again if she doesn't want to. But yeah, I'll try not to spoil the interview too much. I think people should listen to it.
I'll say what an amazing ride the lead up would have been, and then the morning of, and oh my goodness, I can imagine just being. Yeah, I loved your message when you messaged Nick and I about when you'd first booked it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I could hear the butterflies in your voice. You were so excited, but also just so like unknowing about like what it meant and what lay ahead. But I could hear you entertaining all these like thoughts and ideas of how great it is and just how generous she was to say yes. And it was just really sweet. It was cool.
It's been fun. Like, I've had a lot of people, well, I say we, like it's our show. We've had a lot of people reach out, like Chloe Fineman from Saturday Night Live, who plays the lead in the movie. She reached out. But it was also the last episode of the season this past week for Saturday Night Live. So I wasn't expecting too much communication from her. So I can't officially say she'll be on the show. The question was asked. There's been some discussion, but whether that happens or not, I don't know. If it does, oh my God, amazing. If not,
that would would be great. I like that now we can say friend of the pod, Jillian Bell.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
She did say in the episode that she's working. The next thing she's working on is a horror movie. She wants to do a horror film, and she's writing something at the moment. And I said to her after, I said, "Look, I don't want to have my cake and eat it too, but if you want to come and promote that next film, like, you have an open invitation." And she was like, "Yeah." So we'll see.
Oh, congratulations, mate! It's an awesome achievement, and I haven't had a chance to listen to the episode yet, but can't wait.
It's fun. It's pretty quick. It's 45 minutes. Like it's actually funny. Like I was editing it, and it is literally 45 minutes. She said, "I want to get can we sit down for 45?" And it is literally on the 45 and 12 seconds or something. Like it's pretty. That might be the closest I've stuck to a time frame ever, especially when podcasting. But yeah, she's great on it. She's very funny, and very she's awesome. So. And everyone else has been really lovely. Like all the other podcasts that we're friends with, strangers I've never met have reached out. The girl who plays the lead, Sam Morales, her mum reached out to me. I've had a bit about it.
Get her on the pod.
Yeah, I was trying to get Sam on, but I'll settle for Sam's mum. Sam's mum's lovely. But the funniest one, I think, I did put up a story, is the film. One of the locations in the film is a strip club. Chloe Fineman plays a stripper, and it was filmed in a real, active strip club. Like it's a real business. They followed the podcast, and they started reposting stuff and like reviews and clips and stuff. So I had to issue apologies to the patrons of the strip club because they're looking to see like sexy girls dancing in their underwear. And every now and then, it's just my bearded face like popping up. It's been a trip. Like I'm still processing it. But that's top 5 moment of my life. I never thought I'd get to interact with anyone from the industry at the level that she's at. It's incredible. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the episode for this week.
We're curious. We just wanted to know too.
No, absolutely. I
think it's an awesome insight to just hear. I think from the outside looking in, you just see the end result. You see this really great interview, but it's really interesting to see, okay, so you join a Zoom call. Is there admin at the start? Like who joins? It's just really interesting. I'll
say the weirdest thing, I was talking to Andrew from the Revision Almanac. He and I are really good friends. We talk almost every day. He's a really lovely guy. And he was the first one to listen to the interview. Like he messaged me. He's like, I'm listening to it. I'm in a workout and I'm halfway through it and this is amazing. Like he's so supportive of the show and us. And he was asking what it was like. And I was telling him the weirdest thing, and this is going to sound so dumb, but the weirdest thing was how normal she was. And what I mean by, I'm not being like, I was expecting her to be a weirdo. Not at all. But as, consumers of entertainment, we look at people and once they are behind a TV screen or a movie screen, we immediately put them on a pedestal and we're like, well, they're going to be so different and they're going to, carry this Hollywood swagger and they're going to be it's everything's going to be different about them than what I know. And she was like the most normal, down to earth. Like if I didn't know that was Jillian Bell, I'd be like, oh, that's just the woman that I met at the coffee shop and we had a conversation. Like she was just that cool and easy to talk to and stuff like that. I was nervous. Within 2 minutes, they were all gone. I would say my nerves died before the recording started. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just shifting because I have a cramp in my butt. Sorry.
No, I actually did as well. That's why I shifted. So we've got a psychic connection between our butts.
I watched some of the last little clips that you put on Instagram of the last time we chatted. You guys are so stoic and still, and I'm in every clip moving around like a jellyfish. And so I'm trying really hard not to this time, but it's not going to happen.
You know what
I can't sit still. I don't know how you do it. How do you sit still for so long?
Well, I haven't really talked about it on the podcast, but I've talked about my anxiety on the podcast. But one thing I really struggle with, and you guys, if you look at the clips, it's so obvious. I am trying hard to work on it. I'm terrible with maintaining eye contact. I can't do it. It's just something that I've always had with my anxiety. So when you're talking in the podcast, I'm doing my best to try and maintain eye contact. So at least while you're talking, I'm visibly paying attention, not just – I am always paying attention, but visibly maintaining that connection. So because when I saw the first clips of me and Roy, I was like, oh, my God, my eyes are in every direction. I need to just So I am actively working on trying to get better. But even now, I can feel my eyes moving all over the place. So in those clips where I'm stoic, it's me like trying so hard to like, for the presentation of the podcast, I need to look like I'm paying attention, even though I am paying attention. It's just the exciting.
We all have those unconscious tics, though, that you do. Like I noticed, I think I was watching a clip, and Maddie, you were making a pretty good point in the International Women's Day episode we did, and like James was responding to the point, and I was just sitting in the background, just nodding. I was just like, and it's like, oh, this is an audio medium. It's not really a value add at the moment, but.
I guess it's because we don't want to cut each other off. I'm like the queen of cutting both of you off, and like, what are you gonna do?
I cut people off as well, but that's one thing I'm really bad. I did it in the intro with you, Maddie. I'm like, oh my god, shut up, James. I can hear myself doing it. You'll notice in my interview with Jillian, it does not happen. I am like, let her talk, and then you can say the dumb thing you want to say. But yeah, so I'm working.
We're a good little bunch, the three of us, aren't we?
But I think like, that's a sign. We just did it again. I think that's a sign of comfortability. I think when you can do that, it's just like we're very easy around it. We don't have to observe that polite, like, oh no, after you. We're just like, ideas at all of us.
Let me talk before I forget my train of thought.
Woo woo! That was my little train of thought. Joke was for Nick. Maddie, you said
you're a loser.
Hey, I'm the conductor of this train. What have you been watching, Maddie? We've been talking about not movies for like 20 minutes, so we should talk.
I know. I can't remember all of them, but I can remember two. So I rewatched. It's already gone out of my head. I rewatched Stepmom with.
Oh yeah.
Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts. Just because when it gets cold, the second half of that film is set in. It's in America, but it's set in fall, in autumn, the second half of that film. And I love autumn. I'm an autumn girl. I love the colours. I love the trees. I love the leaves. I love the clothes. So the second half of that film is in autumn. And for some reason, I always just, I don't think I've ever watched that film in summer. I don't know why. I don't know what psycho babble is that all about. But yeah, so I rewatched that film and I rewatched The Village.
Oh,
I watched that for the first time in the last 6 months, I want to say. I'd never seen it start to finish before. And I
just really love, again, like it's cold and like the clothing and the silence, and like you can almost hear the sound of like the mist in the forest, and yeah, something about forests going on for me in the last 2 weeks, I think.
I'm an autumn girl as well. Autumn's my favorite season. I know I said
girl.
I know I said it's cold, but autumn is like that sweet spot for me. So
yeah,
I keep thinking of there's a Gilmore Girls clip where Richard Gilmore, I think he gets his claws on a women's magazine and he comes out and Rory goes, so what's the verdict? And he's this big, beautiful, like closed off emotionally businessman, and he goes, I am an autumn. And I just always think of that now. Every time I hear like autumn's coming or I'm so excited, I just hear Richard Gilmore saying, I am an autumn.
I don't want Nick's question to go unanswered. I do like spring. My birthday is in spring, the last day of spring. The problem with spring is that every channel on Australian TV has ruined it, because as soon as it gets to September, they're like, spring has sprung. And I'm like, oh, well done. Every year for 50.
You're wrong. You're wrong. It's the motherfucking wind. I hate spring because I hate the fucking wind.
Well, the only other issue with spring here is you get annihilated by magpies whenever you walk under a tree as well.
You need to make friends with your local magpies. I haven't been swooped in years, because you make friends with like a few in your little area and they tell everyone. They tell all the birds, and then suddenly you guys are like untouchable. I guarantee it.
I don't know what I've been doing.
Even my children, untouchable.
I'm like, there's a hazard walking around Northcote, let me tell you.
No, you need to make friends with the birds. That's the next T-shirt. Make friends with the birds.
So Maddie, you watched The Village. Was that your first watch of it?
Nah, I think I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times since its release. maybe I watch it once a year, maybe once every 2 years. Yeah, and I just again, I love the color treatment. I really do like the twist. Like it's what is it, M Night Shyamalan? So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love the twist in it. I didn't pick it, obviously. Like you're not supposed to
no,
the first
me
time you watch
neither.
it, but like, yeah, I loved it. Such a good twist.
I knew this was going in because it's a 20-year-old film. I tried watching it years ago, and I didn't get through it. Not because I didn't like it. It was just one of those ones where I finished work at like 11 o'clock. I got 45 minutes in. I was like, I'm going to bed, and then that's it. I just didn't go back to it. But I really enjoyed it. Is it Joaquin Phoenix? Is he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really
Joaquin Phoenix, and like I think it's got Bryce Dallas Howard, it's got Sigourney Weaver, it's got Adrian Brody, it's got a big cast.
William Hurt,
yes,
one of the Hurts.
William,
I always get them mixed up.
one of them. It's got heaps. Dominic Gleeson, no, the other one, the older one.
Brendan Gleeson.
Gleeson Senior. Mad Eye Moody.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson. Who was in like Martin McDonagh films with Colin Farrell. He did In Bruges.
What was the In Bruges, and what's the latest one he did?
Inisherin.
Oh, Banshees of Inisherin. I loved that film. That was really good.
Yeah.
I loved that film.
I related to Brendan Gleeson
my
in that
eyes
movie
out.
so much. I was like, there's so many times in my life I've woken up, I'm like, I don't want to be around you anymore. I know I generally promote positivity on this show, but like, someone messaged me the other day after the Jillian episode, and they're like, "Don't forget me when you're famous." And I was like, "Honestly, bro, if I get famous, I'm forgetting everyone."
That's just the sort of gal you are.
It's not an elitist thing. It's just I don't want to be bothered as it is. Like to be rich and famous enough to not have to be bothered ever again. That's the dream. I don't want to be famous and have people flock after. I want to have it so much money I can just hide away forever with just the ones I love most. That's pretty sweet. What have you been watching, Nick Owen?
Slim pickings. There's probably one movie I've seen since we last caught up and recorded, and that is the film Companion. I don't know if either of you have seen this one.
I think I've heard. Oh yeah, I haven't seen. Is this the horror one?
It's got Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher. Jack Quaid from The Boys, Sophie Thatcher's from Yellow Jackets, and Sophie Thatcher plays an AI companion.
Okay,
and they actually reveal that way too early in the film. I actually think because that's not her origin when you first meet the character. You first meet when like her and Jack Quaid fall in love. It's a little meet cute in a supermarket, and like there's some oranges that spill, and they're both trying to pick them up, and they make eye contact. But it's like revealed really early that that's just like a programmed memory that she has to kind of like form an attachment with Jack Quaid. But like I really felt like that could have been a twist for the end of the film.
Sure.
I don't want to give away too much of the film because you may see it, but basically they go on a retreat and her programming starts to go a bit haywire, leading to a violent episode. And then it just turns out that that's actually something that the Jack Quaid character has organized because he's trying to do away with someone for some money. So yeah, it was pretty entertaining and a pretty cool concept. But I just was like, why are you revealing so early in the film that this is like an AI character if that wasn't there, like the genesis of them at the start of the film? So anyway.
Is it similar to Ex Machina? It sounds a bit like Ex Machina.
Yeah, it's a lot lighthearted, more lighthearted than that.
I love Ex Machina. That's a film that I watch probably once every 2 years or so. That's maybe even once a year. That's a great movie. So it's been blowing up online. I keep seeing that poster for Companion, so I would like to check it out.
The trailer was like, I was really intrigued by the trailer because I was like, what's going on here? As I said, you don't know that she's an AI person, and like in the trailer, they're sitting at a dinner table and he's just like, hold out your hand, and there's like under a flame. And so she does, and like the flame is kind of like burning her hand, and you're like, oh, what is going on here? Why would she be doing that? Because she's a bot.
Because she was told to.
Yeah. That's really the only thing of note. Andor season 2 wrapped up. Absolute masterpiece. But yeah, apart from that, that's about it.
Nice.
And our joint viewing at James's house last week.
Well, of course, that's the sort of the pièce de résistance of this podcast, I believe.
I apologize again.
No, we'll get to it in a second. I'll go through my stuff.
How long did it take? How long did it take everyone to go to sleep after we watched it?
You know what? I had a really heartwarming moment because we took that photo afterwards, and I was looking at it, and I was like, you know what? Like, this makes me really happy. So I had all the feels when I went to sleep that night.
I looked at that photo for 3 days straight afterwards. It's so cute. I love it.
I almost said there's my phone backdrop, and I'm like, I don't have my wife and my daughter. That would be really
Photoshop them. They can Photoshop them on either side, then it won't be weird.
It's still an animated screen grab of Poison Ivy from the Harley Quinn cast.
Well, we actually nailed it though. So
once I flipped it and I kind of cropped it a bit, it was pretty much spot on.
Replica. And I think our aura probably a bit higher than the original photo as well.
We've got star power. What can I say?
We're also photogenic.
I was watching. I was like, one of these things is not like the other because I just can't take a photo to save myself. So.
I had my hair draping over Nick, and I was like, "This is what you'd look like with long hair." But I didn't say it out loud because I didn't know if you'd be okay with it.
Nice change.
If Nick was leading a stadium rock band, that's what it looked like.
I always joke with Alicia that I'm like, should I just do the Mick Fleetwood, which I don't know if you know the band Fleetwood Mac, and Mick Fleetwood, he was went bald pretty young, but kept a ponytail and used to do it in a ponytail.
Is that him on the cover of The Dance? Is that?
Yeah, that's him.
That's the next cover we have to recreate. I actually do think that photo we took should be the next T-shirt. I like that quite a bit.
It's so sweet. I love it.
Wear our faces.
Send it to Leo on Instagram.
None of us are under the age of 25, so it's not going to get any attention.
Damn it.
I know. I went there. I went for the lowest common denominator. As always, I watched a ton of stuff, so I'll just summarize a few things. Obviously, I watched Summer of '69, which I legitimately loved. I've watched it a few times now, and I think it is my favorite comedy of the decade. I said that in my review. That wasn't just for the clout. I really dug it. We haven't had a comedy like this in quite a while, so I really enjoyed that. And it spawned wonderful things for the show, that review. But that was really fun. And loved that. I've been to the movies twice since we caught up, I think. Did I talk about Clown in a Cornfield last time?
I don't think you did.
So I remember the car review, yeah.
Yeah, so I went and saw that, and that was really fun. Pretty standard slasher, but it does have a couple of twists. One, which I was expecting, I kind of pieced together quite early, but there's one in the middle that I wasn't expecting, and that blew me away. I was like, holy Christ, this is a really cool twist. But it's not too scary. It's just kind of focuses on, kind of building this mythology of this town that's kind of falling apart. It reminded me a lot of Thanksgiving, if you ever saw the horror movie Thanksgiving. Maddie, I know you wouldn't have, because you don't like horror films. But it was just a really fun slasher. I really liked the way the teens were portrayed in the movie. I thought they felt maybe more realistic than some of the most recent batches we've had. A lot of the times you look at teenagers and they're played by 30-year-olds and they don't feel particularly grounded. But I quite liked the take on the teenagers in this film. I thought they did a pretty good job. And then I think the only other thing I saw in theaters was Final Destination Bloodlines, which is the new Final Destination film, another horror film. The 6th movie in the franchise. It's been 14 years since our last Final Destination movie. And that was really fun. Just like you saw films, Final Destination, most people go just to see the creative ways that people die. And I would say as far as memorable set pieces, this one maybe missed the mark a little bit. And not to say that it wasn't good, but they weren't really going for spectacle. They were going for a more narrative focus, which I really enjoyed. Like most of those films by the end of the franchise, they're like, this is how we kill someone. What's the story? It doesn't matter. Kill them like this. Put a pull pump up their butt. Like literally, that's a kill in a movie. Whereas this, it's it's not just like a bunch of kind of strangers who meet and they have to try and save each other's lives, whatever. It's based on this family, and they're all connected because of something that they like the matriarch of the family did like 60 years prior. And it builds like a real affection for the characters, which is often skipped over in kind of kill by numbers horror films, where you're like, all right, well, we know they're going to die. Who cares? We don't need to care about them. But this one works hard. It builds that relationship up with the characters. So by the time they do start getting hurt, you feel a little bit more for them than you would in the average maybe Final Destination film. So I really quite like that aspect of it.
Anyone ever made it out of one of those films alive?
Yeah. Yeah, in the first two. So the first one, we have a couple of survivors. The second one, we have a couple of survivors. And then from 3 onwards, they were like, let's just kill them all. So spoilers for 20-year-old movies. It's like with the Saw films. Like some Saw films, you get quite a few survivors and some not so much. But yeah, the next thing I'll be seeing will be this weekend. I'm taking Zoe to see Lilo and Stitch because that'll be out. And
Heikie's been asking me to take her to that too. I'm trying to decide if I take Rowan with me or not, but I kind of don't want to take the 2-year-old. I think I'll just take the older one.
If you're looking for a time to go, I think we're going Saturday morning. So if you want to come along, you're welcome. We can do that outside of the episode. We don't have to do our plans on the show. And I believe Nick Owen and I are going to try and see Mission Impossible, hopefully.
You'll love her. You're Tom Cruise. You're your best man.
Oh, well, and I wasn't sure. I know this is called The Final Reckoning, but I actually was like, is this The Final Reckoning? But it does seem like it is The Final Reckoning.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I just thought that they meant like, well, it's part 2, so it's the final reckoning in terms of this story, but there'll be more. But from what I understand, like, they might not be going back for any more Mission Impossible, which, to be honest, this is a franchise that started in, 1997, and then they didn't do a sequel for 4 years, and then did another one, 4 years later, and, we're going to keep doing them. And it's only in the last decade where they've started really pumping out sequels in, we started with just one or two, and now what, 8 or 9 or something like that? Is this will be the 8th?
I think this is 8. Yeah.
So they've got some pretty good longevity out of it. So
yeah, and I think we could probably save this for a review of the episode, but I don't think it's the worst thing for Tom Cruise to just put Ethan Hunt aside. He's kind of been making the same film for just the last 10 years now.
I really liked Dead Reckoning. I think that might be my favorite Mission Impossible film. I really enjoyed it.
The one before that, Fallout, for me is the best in the franchise. Yes.
Henry Cavill's
yeah, for people who can't see, James just reloaded his arms the way Henry Cavill does.
Henry Cavill and I have very similar builds, so it was easy to recreate.
He's the GOAT. So yeah, that's exciting. Hopefully we can tee up a time.
Yeah. Speaking of Cavill, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, we've got something to talk about, but the new, and he's not even in the film, but he was Superman. There's a new Superman trailer out, which looks spectacular.
It really does.
It looks so good.
The only slight concern I had when I was watching the trailer was this is a lot of characters, and I'm like, is this going to be a grounded Superman film, or is it going to be a world-building film? Because world-building films can get a bit messy and bloated sometimes, and
Well, my understanding is that they're kind of doing it the same way they did with The Batman, where he's already been Superman for a while, so it's not origin story. And I think that these characters like Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, they work for Max Lord. So Max Lord's a character. He was the villain in Wonder Woman in 1984, Pedro Pascal. So Max Lord, he wasn't always a villain, but he's a businessman. And I think the idea is that he's got his own version of a Justice League. That's why they all have matching outfits, because they work for him. But in terms of villains, I actually don't mind it. I saw that complaint a lot, but I was like, but it's Superman. Superman is so rarely challenged. It's always Lex Luthor or Zod. We've never gone on that. And one of them doesn't have powers. I'm like, so I like the idea of a Superman who has to be overwhelmed. I like the idea of him struggling to fight a kaiju monster and someone in a black suit who is called Ultraman, but I've got a pretty good idea who it might be, and Metamorpho might be an antagonist. Like, I don't mind him being overwhelmed. I think that's good for the character. I think it makes the stakes higher. But we'll see. Look, we'll see in like 2 months, and I'm sure the Snyder Cut section of Reddit will continue to hate it. And
but I mean, it's really intriguing to find out what the tone of this film is going to be, because like the Snyder DC universe was like so dark and gritty, and obviously James Gunn's contribution to Marvel was kind of like quippy and funny, but also we're a family at the heart of it, you know. So yeah, really interesting to see where we go from here.
I think we're going to get a very hopeful Superman, one that but I think it's going to play with shades. Like if you watch Guardians 3, like that's a depressing movie. Like it's wonderful, but gee, it will tear your heart out. I have complete faith in James Gunn as a director. I think like he knows source material, he knows how to honor characters, and so not to say that Snyder didn't, because I think Man of Steel is the best film in that entire franchise. I think like it wasn't my favorite at the start, but I think it really stands the test of time. So this is not a Snyder hate thing at all. I love Snyder, but I think we're going to see a brighter, more hopeful. But he's got that moment in the trailer where where she's like, you know, you acted against the president or whatever. And he's like, people were dying, and he like yells at her. I'm like, yeah, like I like that. I like Superman standing his ground and stuff. So I'm very excited. Like I don't know whether I'm more excited for that or Fantastic Four, but I'm very excited for both. Going to be, and then we got Jurassic World in the middle of them as well, so it's going to be a big month. Maddie's like, let's mention dinosaurs, please.
I was just thinking about other ones that are coming up that I know I want to actually go and see in the cinema, and so yeah, of course I'm going to go see Jurassic World, but I also want to see 28 Years Later in the cinema.
Yeah, I'll come and see that.
And like,
if you can't find it,
again, I'm not a horror person, but I liked the first two, so I feel like that I can probably like handle, and I want to go see it in the theater.
I didn't realize
I'm
until
excited for that
that it's a trilogy. They're doing a brand new 28 Years trilogy.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just sort of a next piece.
So this next one is the first of a trilogy. Is that what you mean?
That's what I heard, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, it's I think I would need to go back and rewatch the second one. Like I kind of have seen the 28 Days Later enough that I probably could watch the new one without revisiting that. But the second one, I would not have seen that for like 15 years, I reckon.
I think 28 Weeks is underrated. Robert Carlyle's in it. He's really good. Imogen Poots, I think it's her first theatrical role, like in terms of like.
Is Jeremy Renner in it?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I want to say Aaron Taylor Johnson maybe is in it, or maybe I'm getting.
Hang on. Isn't this the one where they're suddenly in a city and it's the kids that are the main?
Imogen Poots.
I'm sure Jeremy Renner and Rose Byrne are in that one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There you go.
Yeah. Holy crap. Go Maddie's brain.
So is Idris Elba.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And
okay. Well, there you go.
Pre-Luther, so that's...
2007 it came out.
Yeah, I think it's underrated. I'd definitely look. 28 Days Later is a masterpiece, but 28 Weeks, like people, I think give it some unfair hate. Well, we all watched a movie together in my home cinema, and you guys got to experience it to the full. You have to use the recliners and stuff, which was really fun.
It was plush in there, James. Very nice.
Well,
I wasn't shifting around. I was sitting so still and so cozy and so comfy.
I will say that my experience that night was so joyous because I've never seen or heard Maddie laugh as much as she did in that film. And
I was behaving so much. I was trying so hard. There was like 3 times where I wanted to like stand up and like clap and stuff. And I was like, nah, don't be a freak. So I just had to sit there and like chortle.
It wasn't even that you were laughing. I could see and feel the chair shaking. Like you were... It was wonderful, but that's my favorite thing. Like that's what I love seeing is people like enjoy themselves at the movies. So Maddie, I'll throw it to you. You want to tell people what we watched and your history with this movie, and then we'll dive into it.
Yes. Well, you know how you always ask, or I don't know if you always ask it, but generally you ask what got you into movies or what started your love of movies, or you ask the question, did you used to rent movies at Blockbuster? So this movie is a John Leguizamo film called The Pest. And we used to rent it from the video store, and I couldn't tell you how we stumbled upon like picking it up the first time, but we must have just liked the cover, maybe. I don't even know. But we picked it up, we gave it a try. I think I was maybe 15, maybe 14 or 15. And my family all just watched it. And then, yeah, every few cycles at Blockbuster, we would rent it again and again. And my brother and I and my sister and I still quote some of the not so PC quotes. And like, it is just so locked in our little treasure box of just the dumb shit that you love. And it's so dumb, but it's so gloriously dumb, and I love it so much. And it's would never be made now. Like, you have to put your hat on of understanding the time period it came in, and you don't really talk about it once you leave, I guess. Don't talk about it in public, but a whole
first rule of the Pest.
Yeah, basically. Like, glad we're in your garage, because like this is just staying in the garage. And I think before we even started watching it, I even said to you guys, I feel really vulnerable.
You were
and
nervous.
I feel really exposed, because I love this film, even though I know the humor and the jokes that are in it are not okay anymore, and I don't think they're okay anymore. But I'm so locked into this nostalgic memory of my teen years where it was so fucking funny that
Look, it's definitely a product of its time. And I actually did a review, like a 90-second review of the movie, which won't be up for at least a week or so, because I just wanted to get my thoughts down before tonight, so that way I'd kind of jog my memory. And like, I grew up in the 90s. Nick grew up in the 90s. I won't speak on Nick's behalf, but I remember comedies from that time. Like, I've heard people say, like, of movies of old, like, it's kind of like, oh, it's just not funny. Like, that joke's not funny. It's like, well, it can be. Like, it can be. Like, and this is not me being like, oh, woke police, like, everything's too PC. Not at all. But I stand by the kind of the rule of stand-up comedy, where it's like, as long as people laugh, it's funny. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if people see the humor in it, and I do agree with you, you couldn't make this movie now. I wouldn't recommend certainly some of the things. Like, there's a certain pair of glasses that he wears. I certainly wouldn't bring that back. But at the same time, like, I had that same hurdle that you're talking about, where the first couple of minutes I was like, oh, should I be laughing at this? Like, this feels very dated. But I would say within 5 minutes, I was laughing hysterically. Like, it's because it's not coming from a place of hate. Like, it's not trying to, like, belittle people. Like, it's stupid. Like, it's just so dumb. And I think I said afterwards, I would put it on the shelf next to Billy Madison. I think, like, it's very much that style of humor. I'd put it on the shelf next to Basketball. I'd put it on the shelf next to Beverly Hills Ninja. Like, these are those kind of 90s era comedies that, like, these are the comedies. These are the reason why people kind of look down their nose at comedy, because it's just so stupid and trying to, like, what's the dumbest thing we can do to make you laugh? And like, there's a lot of like ADR fart sounds in this movie, like a lot of them. And still, like, it got me. Like, it shouldn't have. Like, some of them should not have been placed where they were. But I couldn't help myself. And Leguizamo is so charming. Like, and I think that's why it works. Like, he's so charming in it. Like, he's so lovable, even though he doesn't stop talking ever. Like, that scene when he shows up at the house for the first time, I'm like, stop moving.
Yes, he's so erratic. He just moves and talks and grabs things, and like, he's darting around the space. He climbs on the couches. He grabs onto people. Like, he just is. He's 100 miles a minute for the whole film. And so as an audience member, you're like, I just need a moment to rest. And I don't think there's any moment in that film where the audience gets to just sort of take a breath.
No, I was just about to say, I think he's in every frame of this film. Like, I don't think, and it's like you guys have covered where it sits in terms of like culturally, not like being a product of 90s versus now. So I won't belabor that point, but I think like it's a really interesting vehicle for John Leguizamo to just like improvise characters, do these funny voices and stuff like that, which I certainly didn't know he had that side of him.
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, I saw him in Mario and I've seen him in, like, the odd thing here and there, but, like, I hadn't seen anything like this. And it really, like, taking that lens of, like, comparing it to when it came out, it's, like, very of the time with those kind of comedy performers back then. Like, it was very Jim Carrey. It was very Robin Williams in terms of, like, quick fire, like, voices and impressions and stuff like that. Also, quite a cool Miami movie. If you're into Miami Core, which just happens to be one of my passions, shout out to the original Miami Vice TV show.
It's this Scarface for you. Look,
We want to get you the whole outfit. We want to get you like the Pest's main outfit that you can just sport around forever.
Very, very entertaining.
I remember like 10 minutes in, I don't know if it was you, Nick, or if it was James, I don't know which one, but one of you was like, I don't know what's happening.
Hey,
oh, okay.
I definitely like, it wasn't so much, I was very loud and I definitely cursed a bunch. I was like,
I think I remember being like, wait for this bit until we got to the Chinese restaurant scene, which is my favorite scene.
No, that's when I was most confused. So I was like, what's the plot of this movie? And then it's right after that you kind of start getting into the
where we're going.
So if I understood the plot, John Leguizamo has a shower, goes out, plays a game of basketball against some high school kids, goes to some street festival where it's revealed that he owes money to a Scottish
mob
gangster.
Yeah.
Scottish mob, yep.
And they say, do you know what day it is? And he says, Sean Connery's birthday.
Sean Connery's birthday.
And then he goes to the Chinese restaurant, delivers food to the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, who then has him sign a contract, which secretly means he goes to an island to be hunted as live sport, which he then escapes, and the rest of the movie is a chase. It's very original. It's a very original concept.
And there's a girl he doesn't like called Malaria.
If you're going to start killing people, can you start with malaria first?
This is the kind of film that I could show my dad and he would become obsessed with. Like, this is exactly his sense of humor. I think it's like boomer dad comedy. I don't mean that in a negative way, but if I think about the stuff that my dad showed me growing up, things like The Naked Gun, Airplane, like even though this isn't parody so much, like it's definitely that fast quipping joke a second. Don't be afraid to.
I was about to ask, would you recommend it to anyone, Nick? Would you ever say, hey, I've got a film that I reckon might be up your alley?
It'd come with a strong disclaimer, but I would recommend it. Because I think it's like, you understand it's a product of its time. Like if it came out like last year, I'd say, oh, that's a bit strange one.
Risky,
yeah. But I certainly would. I've watched things like from the 80s and 90s that are far more questionable than this. This at least is a lighthearted romp kind of movie.
And also, like, it's interesting. Even if it was made today, I don't know if I would. I know they would never make it today, but I don't know whether I would have an issue with it being made today. Because if you look at things like South Park and It's Always Sunny, like they've been doing the wrong thing for over 20 years. You know what I mean? So I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I remember that cover because when I worked in the video store, I would see that cover all the time. It was not rented a lot. There was this one family who would rent it every couple of weeks. This 15-year-old girl was obsessed with it. I just remember the cover and being like, well, this is the weirdest looking cover. I'm never going to watch this. So I'm surprised how much once it got going, like it took a little while just for me to accept what it was and like understand the style of humor. Like it took a little bit, but once it, like, you know, they kind of tore the Band-Aid off, like it was so funny. I was laughing constantly. Like there were a couple of times where I, guffawed loudly, if you will. Yeah, that was a good time at the
What was your favourite scene then? I want to know.
I think my favorite scene was the drag race dance off thing with the two cars. Like
the two what were they? They were like
Subwoofers.
university chads, and they were like playing their
like rock and
loud
roll.
rock and roll music.
That was that to me was really funny. Like just for how over the top and stupid it was. Like that felt very much like a Wayne's World style joke or something like that, where it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. That's probably my favorite. That's probably the scene that I think of the most, that I laughed at the most, just because of how dumb it was.
And Nick, what about you?
I probably laughed the most out loud at, I'm ashamed to say, the karaoke scene at the end, which is probably, if we're talking about what doesn't really translate to 2025, that's probably the main one. But yeah, I'm ashamed to say that got me.
The dinner party scene, not dinner party, but like when he goes to his girlfriend's house for dinner, that's pretty funny as well. Especially once like the tracker starts overheating. What about you, Maddie? This is a Schultz classic, or not Schultz, a Kremler classic. I was trying to remember your maiden name for a second.
We love the quacky scene we quote all the time. You killed Quacky? I don't know. I might have. And then he's like, well, why? Well, why you kill Quacky? And then the other guy's like, Quacky always wanted to be served extra crispy in a berry in France, just like you always wanted. No one will know what I'm talking about, so you just need to go watch it because it cracks me up every time. And I like the same scene as you, where after they play their music so loud that the other guys pass out, and John Leguizamo runs over to one of them to check if he's still alive. And he listens to his chest and he's like, Chubsy, what do I have to keep telling you? I'm not going to give you any more white people if you can't look after them. There's just so many great one-liners that I just love them so much. They're so ridiculous. And how hilarious is, Gustav, the evil guy? How funny is his son?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I said he looks like Robert Irwin if he was raised in the 1940s. That whole storyline was funny. I messaged you guys afterwards because I said I'm going to dive into the trivia and learn as much as I can. And the film was written in 3 days on a bet. Like, John Leguizamo, like, was talking to his friend, he's like, this is this character I've been working on, the Pest. Do you reckon you can write a movie about it? And the guy was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, I bet you $1,000 you can't. And then 3 days they had a script, and John Leguizamo went on record as saying that it wasn't the greatest idea he's had. Like, they could have taken more time. And the other thing I remember from the trivia is there's a scene in the movie where a snake goes up his shorts. Apparently that snake did bite him and he had to go to hospital.
Yeah, I think, didn't it say that the fangs, they had to rip it off and the fangs stayed in his leg, so they had to take him to hospital to get the fangs removed?
Yeah.
Wild ride.
It just
Thanks
also
for coming along with me.
It felt a little bit like an independent film, but it's wild to me that, like, if I without going into it, you were like, where does this sit in his career? I'd be like, this is his first film. He's coming in hot. Like he's had this idea for a character, but it's like post the Super Mario Bros. So he'd probably be a big star. It's just like an absolute wild, like, follow-up movie to that.
It feels very homemade, and I don't mean that in like it looks cheap, because it doesn't. It looks like a studio film, but it feels very much a product of, like, it feels like he had a lot of control over where the story was going and stuff like that. It didn't feel like it was covered with studio notes other than, like, please cut out those jokes. They're not appropriate even for 1997.
And even the amount of locations they went to, I think that also helped. There were a fair amount of locations that probably upped the budget a lot.
It's
But I remember you saying that you thought it was pretty, I don't know if you said it was brave, I don't remember what the word you said, but about having the same song opening as closing.
Yeah.
Is it the same scene as well? Like it's the same.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
not
much.
just like that. It's the
Pretty
same
much,
song.
yeah.
It starts with him singing in a shower and finishes with like the same edit.
There's
Bold.
a couple of shots in there. I want to say there's some African American characters that show up in the closing credits, and apparently that was from a scene. The studio was like, "You cannot show that in a theater." Like, apparently, it was too insane and too offensive. So they made him cut it. So there's like clips in the credits just so they could get it in. That song stuck in my head for days. It's very reminiscent of the Fresh Prince, and also like a hip hop, a hip a dip a zip, like.
You mean you didn't have dun 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 bonanza? Because that features heavily.
That's true. It's just
4-4-1, 1-4-4.
But it's definitely, I can say with full confidence, it is a movie I'm going to go back to. I don't know when, but like I can see it in my future. Like I was telling Tina about it, and she couldn't quite understand what I was saying. I'm like, it really needs to be seen for you to understand what this film's about, and even then, you might not understand it. But we will.
Each time you watch it, it gets funnier and funnier and funnier because you get these little glimpses of, oh my god, I remember what's next. Oh my god, I remember what's next. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It ages well in terms of the humor factor.
It is crazy. My family didn't watch it when I was younger because that is exactly the kind of humor that my family would have enjoyed when we were growing up. Like that would have slotted into the rotation quite regularly.
Well, I thank you both very, very much for allowing me to steer the movie night in that direction.
It was an unexpected delight.
It was an excellent choice because it was like it's an off-Broadway choice, you know. Like I would never have seen that movie. I don't think I would have ever seen it, and like this is why we do this.
And I would put that in the same camp, maybe not the same style of humor, but the same camp as like the Three Amigos. Like I remember you were telling me about that for years, like the Three Amigos, and it just wasn't readily available over here. So when I was overseas, I bought it, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm so glad Nick told me to watch this because this is great. Like I would never have watched it probably. So I think we said when we got together and watched The Pest. By the way, everyone, heavy disclaimer on some of the outdated jokes, but go and watch The Pest. It is really funny. I know after we watched it, Nick, we said that it was your choice next, but I also told you before the episode recorded I had a surprise for you. I have received a delivery today, so I'd like to submit an alternative for our next viewing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that still existed.
You have a Blu-ray copy of The Room?
The film that needed to be in high def.
All right, well, that has jumped up in front of anything I could possibly suggest for our next viewing. So, James, I'm more than happy for you to just bump yourself up in the order.
Because there are definitely films that I was saying after we watched The Pest, I was like, I don't know what to recommend. Like, Maddie hasn't seen Super Mario, so that would be a good connection. Or I don't know if you guys have seen Beverly Hills Ninja, that would be a good connection. And then when that arrived on my doorstep today, I was like, oh, it's got to be The Room. Like, because we were going to go and see it in cinemas, but I think that screening has sold out now. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But now that you've experienced the screening over here,
narratively, The Pest is going to be like a masterpiece compared to The Room, Maddie.
Okay. I'll prepare myself. But I haven't seen it before, but it's in popular culture enough in terms of whispers and talks and stuff that I need to see it and I want to see it. So
I'm obsessed with this Blu-ray case. Up the top,
it makes it look really serious.
Up the top where you would normally see like high def, it just says Tommy Wiseau. It's a superimposed photo of Tommy Wiseau over the Golden Gate Bridge. Can you ever really trust anyone? On the front, in text that's far too big, it says copyright 2001 to 2018 Wiseau Films on the front cover. On the back, under the special features, we've got behind the scenes. We've got an interview. Then it just says Tommy Wiseau was one of the features. Scene selection is part of the special features, so it's really good. It's typed by someone who didn't really care because it says joined the millions of others who are raving about it. Are you ready to see the reflection of your life? Enter the room and leave forever changed. Are you ready to see the reflection of your life again? Oh my God. Let me read to you the synopsis of a movie that I've seen many times. The Room is an electrifying American black comedy about love, passion, betrayal, and lies. It's what happens in real life. You could be with your loving woman, and all of a sudden, boom, all caps, exclamation point, she's in bed with your best friend or a family member.
And or.
Yeah, which, by the way, doesn't happen in the movie. Like, the room depicts of friendships and relationships in one life and raises life's real and most asked question: can you really ever trust anyone? Are you ready to see the reflection of your life? So there we go.
I'm trying to, just as you were talking, I'm trying to go back through photos and find when I went to a screening of that, and that the guy who plays his best friend is there. So I have a photo with that guy somewhere.
They gave me the chapter list for the movie on just a piece of paper. One of the chapters is called "You're Tearing Me Apart, Lisa." The disc is like the ultimate floating heads poster you've never seen before. Like, there you go.
It's like a shit version of Star Wars poster.
And on the inside cover, there's an ornate frame with a picture of the pug that just says "Hi, doggy." It's made by a madman.
It is. I think that's there's two kind of parts to it. Well, there's a lot of moving parts to the room, but like there's how bad it is. It's like so bad that it's entertaining, but it's also like that Tommy Wiseau guy who wrote and directed and edited it has just like a belief in himself and that his idea is genius, that is just so strong that it's so earnest as well. Like he's so convinced that he's making one of the greatest films of all time that it's like it adds this extra layer on top of it just being an entertainingly bad film.
There's so many things. Like, he didn't know if it was going to be a play or a movie, so everyone always enters and exits the scene as if it was a play. He didn't know whether he wanted to shoot in analog or digital, so he got a camera of each, taped them together so every shot is just off center. It's I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but it's oh man, you're in for a treat. I'm trying to think if there's any disclaimers. There's some pretty full-on sex scenes in the first.
It's like pretty pretty sexy stuff going on.
Stop spoiling it.
There's pretty great.
That's in the first 3 minutes.
Pretty great scene where they go and throw a gridiron ball around.
Oh, you are my rose.
The R&B. There's like B-grade R&B that just plays over the sex scenes. Anyway.
Here's how much of it arrived, and I was going to post about it on the Instagram. I was like, no. I have to, like, I always post my delivery. I'm going to wait so you guys can see first before anyone else what I've got in my hands. So that way we can do it together. I think we might have covered everything. We know what the next episode's going to be, which is Maddie's first venture, and certainly not her last venture into the room. Because
like, Maddie, will you ever forgive us after seeing it is the question.
Yeah, I wonder if this will ruin our friendship. Nah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
This is the cinematic equivalent of Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. You're just going to keep going. Well, I guess we should say goodbye to the folks and get out of here so we can all go to sleep. It's currently 8:30, by the way.
That's the type of week we've had, okay?
I'd say, well, we've laughed a lot, thank goodness, because it's been a rough one. Anything you guys want to...
Hi, doggy.
This is Kitty. Miss Penny. This is Penny Farthing. She's the bitchiest cloud you have ever met. Penny. She's such a bitch.
French.
Yeah. And she snores. She's great. She's great value. Yeah, this is one of my cats who's come to interrupt me and say, I would like to be fed. So that's a very good time wrap up for me.
Anything you want to say to the gang before we get out of here? Any final thoughts? We're all feeling pretty good.
Our feet are the same.
Our feet are the same. How would I be the German ambassador? Anyway, stop it. Stop pushing me because I will keep quoting the whole film.
I just want to say, and I said this while I watched the film, because they lean into the Nazi of it all pretty heavily. Like they don't hide it.
Well, the main character's German. Like the villain is a German, so
I think it's pretty heavily implied that he could have some sympathies.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And there was a point in the movie, and I was having fun with it, but there was a point in the movie where I turned to Maddie. I was like, Maddie, you're Polish.
Yes, I am of Polish Jewish descent. And unfortunately, when I first viewed the film, I didn't know that. So there's these weird little whisperings of like nostalgia of I found it so funny until I found out I was Polish and Jewish. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm conflicted, but it's still funny, sadly.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully we enticed you to go check out The Pest, because it's a good old time, even with all the weird stuff in it. If you haven't listened to my interview with Jillian Bell, go check it out. It's 45 minutes. It's so quick. I barely talk. She's wonderful. And you can go and watch Summer of 69 right now as well. Next episode, I have another director on. I'm interviewing Jonathan Salemi, who did the Last Deal, which is on Amazon Prime right now. That was a really fun interview. That's a pretty short one as well. And then the next time we're all together, we're going to be talking about The Room, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait to... Like, Nick and I are seasoned veterans, but poor Maddie doesn't know what she's in for. But it's going to be great, and we're going to watch it in Film Snob HQ. Speaking of which, that's it from all of us here at Film Snob HQ. We're every night's movie night. We'll see you next week.